What's going on, guys? Welcome back to LOI Fan TV. I hope you're all keeping very, very well indeed. As you can tell from the title in this video, we are going to be doing our Premier Division League table predictions. Now, last year my predictions were actually quite good. I was fairly happy with my outcome in the end. Usually I'm way off the mark, and I think this year could potentially be the hardest year yet to get right. The two newly promoted sides are really, really strong in their own right. Usually you kind of have like a UCD or a Finn Harps kind of thing down the bottom where you're like, okay, guaranteed 9th and 10th maybe or something like that. Whereas this year it's a really, really hard ask, I think. I feel like the bottom 6 is probably set in stone and the top 4 is set in stone, but it's where every team comes in that is going to be a really big hard ask. I think it's going to be like too many leagues really this season, in my opinion. If you do go to enjoy the video, make sure to drop a like down below. If you can hit 50 likes, that would be fantastic. I think we are going to be heading to the Tallaght Stadium this Friday to potentially do some fan cams and reactions. So if you're going to the Shamrock Rovers and Dundalk game this Friday, make sure to let us know if you want to do an interview after the game. We're usually kind of around the mega store area outside the ground. So yeah, if you want to do an interview with us, just pop over and say hello after the match. But yeah, let's just jump straight into this one. In 10th place, this one hurts a little bit because it's really, really hard to know, and this one could be way, way off the mark, but I have just opted for Sligo Rovers. I don't think they did well really last season. They've lost big players over the last couple of years in terms of that striker department. They've lost likes of Aidan Keenan, they've lost Max Mata last year as well. Don't think they've really adequately replaced those players, so I think goals could be an issue for them. They have brought in Ed McGinty, who could be a huge factor for them and could save them a lot of points this season. That could just keep them afloat. But I think I'm really worried about Sligo Rovers this season. I think the two newly promoted sides are going to have a bit more about them, a bit more kind of I don't know what you want to say, like newly promoted bounce is probably what you would call it. I think the two new sides in the league will have that bounce when they come up. So I just think Sligo, I think they could just be in a little bit of trouble. I wouldn't be surprised to see some changes throughout the season there, whether it be a manager or a lot of players coming in or out halfway through the campaign. They've lost some experience in Greg Bolger and the likes as well. So yeah, for me, I'm very worried about Sligo Rovers, and I have, reluctantly enough, I do love Sligo. I think they're a fantastic club, but I have put them in 10th place. In 9th, and this one I've gone back and forth on a few times in my head, but I'm just going to go for Waterford, I think. And I think I could be wrong here as well, because I do love Keith Long. I think he's a fantastic manager. He's one of the best in the league. But I just think that Ronan Coughlin departure could be huge. He's obviously their major outlet for goals last season, but they still have some quality players, Connor Parsons and the likes, who will chip in with goals and assists this season. It's big factor here is Padraig Amond. We recently did a transfer tier list video where he was mentioned, of course, in that, so make sure to go check that out if you haven't done so already. Him staying fit, he is like 34, 35 now, so it's a big risk to bring him back. If he can stay fit and if he can play whatever 30 odd games, that would be massive, and that could see them over the line. If he can hit 10, 15 goals, it could be crucial for them, and it could be enough to keep them out of that 9th place spot. But as it stands, I just don't know if he will. That's too big of a question mark for me. The big interesting factor here is I don't think it's happened just yet, but Tommy Lonergan, of course, did leave St. Pat's for Fleetwood Town, and the rumour was that he would come back on loan to Waterford, and if that happened, that gives them a huge boost and a much bigger opportunity to stay up. But I think if they do get Lonergan in, I think they will stay up 100%. So a lot remains to be seen there, and they could go and recruit a lot during the summer. Who knows? So really hard to know. And I do like a lot of their signings. This is really frustrating because I do like some of their signings. Leahy and McCourt have come in who have League of Ireland experience, and I am impressed by their business. I think this is a tough one, but I just think they will because it's so competitive this year. I think they might just slip into 9th place, and I think they'll stay up in 9th. I think they'll probably win that playoff game. And would Waterford fans take that right now? Potentially. They potentially would take the guaranteed 9th place finish. Maybe they would, I'm not sure. But yeah, for me, I'm going to go for Waterford in 9th place. In 8th, another one that I've gone back and forth on a little bit, but I've gone for Dundalk, and God, how the mighty have fallen. But yeah, their business hasn't really impressed me. It's a lot of players that we don't really know a whole lot about. A lot of loans coming in from England and stuff. There's a situation with the goalkeeper with his agent talking online, who seems like an absolute clown. So they're probably correct to not pursue that player, because if you have to deal with people like that, it's not worth it. But yeah, I haven't been impressed by their business. They've of course lost Pat Hoban, they've lost Daniel Kelly, so a lot of goals leaving the side there as well. So I do really worry for Dundalk this year. I think I saw something on Twitter about the sack race, who's the most likely manager to get sacked this season. I think Stephen O'Donnell was actually top of that list, so maybe not surprisingly, but an interesting one for sure, because obviously from where he was at Pats, leaving winning the FAI Cup and coming in with the stock was so high, and now it seems like the stock is taking a real hit. So Dundalk seems to be a little bit of a mess. Yeah, I just think they'll have a poor season. So in 8th place, I have gone for Dundalk. In 7th, this may surprise a few, and I could be a bit off the mark here. I might have overshot them a little bit, but I have gone for the champions of the First Division, Galway United. Now, they won the First Division at a canter last season, and typically when teams do that, they tend to do quite well in the Premier Division. So I think Galway have enough about them. They've got two really experienced managers in terms of John Caulfield and Ollie Horgan, who know how to get results in this league. It's going to be a really tough place to go. Galway's going to be a really tough away day for a lot of teams this season. I see them picking up a lot of points at home. I think they'll obviously have huge backing from the fans. I think they haven't brought in a load of players, but they've kept hold of their squad from last season, which is impressive, and I think that feel-good factor will be huge for them, and I think they'll have enough about them to steer clear of relegation to a degree. I could be off on this one. Let me know in the comments. It'd be interesting to see what you guys have to say. But I've gone for Galway, their first season up, promotion bounce. I've gone for Galway in 7th place. In 6th, I have gone for Bohemians. Now, you may be a little bit surprised by that. Potentially, maybe not. Because I think everyone agrees that their transfer business is probably one of the worst in the league so far. They look really light in a number of areas, which is really concerning. Whether there's still time left in the window, whether they will recruit more players, but now at this stage it's getting to that kind of panic territory. You don't really throw money at players. They've done that in the past and it's not worked out, so it's going to be a real tough year for Bohs this season. I feel last year there was kind of bit of tension there towards the end of the campaign. Obviously losing the FAI Cup final, disappointing league campaign in the end. Obviously they started off really strongly, looked like potential title contenders in February, March, and then fell off completely really. So losing that Falabi's huge, and that's 15 goals gone from last season. And they've replaced him with Sten Ryancourt, who's a striker from Estonia. We don't know a whole lot about. They've also brought in the other couple of lads from Estonia as well. So really tricky to know about Bohs this season. There's a lot of question marks that I think we'll find out in the first couple of weeks of the season about how their season's going to go. But I just think a couple of injuries there, and they're really light in a lot of areas. They're probably going to have maybe Keith Buckley filling in centre half or a full back again this season. Flores maybe filling in a left back again and stuff. It's just a little bit messy for my liking, and they really need the likes of your Danny Grants to step up this season and improve on last year, and potentially they will. But I think 6th place for Bohs. I think that's a fair assessment. I think Bohs fans will potentially take that right now as well, because they don't want to be kind of slipping down into the relegation threatened area really, which is it out of the realms of possibility? Maybe not. Maybe it's not. Who knows? But for me, Bohemians in 6th place, they have enough quality in that team. I think they've obviously James Clark there, who's quality. They've McManus. They've good players who will, a couple of them will improve as well from last year. You'd like to think so from a Bohs perspective. So yeah, for me, Bohemians in 6th place. In 5th, one of the clubs that I've been really impressed by on and off the pitch in the last year or so is Drogheda United. Now, the recruitment that they've had has been phenomenal. They've of course lost two big players in Dale Rooney, who's gone to Bohs, who I didn't mention in the last part, but obviously that's a decent pickup for Bohs. He was a great player for Drogheda last season, scored some worldies as well. Connor Keeley as well has left the club. It was a massive blow. He was fantastic last season. He was probably one of the best centre backs in the league last season. He's of course gone to St. Pat's to bolster their title charge. So yeah, I think Connor Keeley leaving the club is massive, but they have brought in Andrew Quinn back to the club. He's a nice pickup from Shells. Obviously he was at the club before, didn't really get enough game time last year, but he's a young lad. He'll kick on again. Connor Kane coming in is a fantastic pickup. Another couple of lads as well. Obviously France Peru is a big one. I mentioned him in the transfer video recently we did. He's fantastic. He was with Athlone last season, scored bags of goals for them, and he looks a real threat, and could be a one to watch this season in terms of maybe the top goal scorer charts, in terms of a lot of things, and he could be one that maybe a Rovers or something looks to pick up at the end of the season, or maybe a move to England or something. You feel like he has that potential in him. So yeah, Drogheda have been really impressed by obviously keeping Darren Markey, who's a wonderful player as well. Drogheda have really impressed me. I like the manager as well. I think he's a super manager, and I think it seems like a really positive place at the moment, Drogheda. And I think I only see them kind of progressing this season upon last year. So I think fifth would be a fantastic campaign for them. They would bite your hand off for it now. I think they're more than capable of getting it. And yeah, I think it's a really positive place right now, Drogheda. In fourth place, now this one is where it gets a little bit controversial and maybe a little bit off kilter, and one I could look back on and seriously regret at the end of the year. But I have gone for Derry City in fourth spot. That may surprise a few. They've brought in Pat Hoban, they've brought in Dan Kelly, who will add a lot in that final third. You'd imagine Pat Hoban will need to get the ground running really. Obviously he's getting a little bit older now. He still kind of guarantees you a minimum of double figures a year, so that will be huge, and they'll be hoping from their perspective that he will spearhead their attack towards a title challenge this season. Will he give them that added impetus in front of goal, and what they maybe missed in narrow games last season? We saw that a lot. For Derry, for me, they seem to, whenever I watch them last season, they keep the ball well, but they don't seem to create an awful lot of chances maybe, and they do miss that clinical striker as well. I think the pitch up there isn't great either. I think that kind of hinders them at home, and they do drop some points at home. Off the top of my head, I think they dropped a good few points at home last season. I think their away form was nearly stronger than their home form at times. So yeah, I think that pitch is a disaster to try to play any ball on. It's really bad, and Derry are a footballing team, so it doesn't help their cause whatsoever. And I think that could be a factor this season. I see the top four being really competitive this year. So yeah, I think Derry could just slip into fourth spot, which they'd be disappointed by. They want to be challenging for that top place, but for me, I just don't know if they will do so. I'm gonna go for Derry in fourth. Now in third, this is probably the one that people might be surprised by, might accuse a little bit of bias here, but I've gone for Shelbourne. I've been absolutely delighted with the business they have done so far. From a Shelbourne fan's perspective, I'm trying to be as neutral as possible in this video, but I've been absolutely thrilled. I think they've recruited in all the right areas. We've kind of touched on a lot of this stuff in the previous video, but the attacking options that Shelbourne now have at their disposal is really good. Obviously losing Jack Moylan is a massive blow. He was so good. I was actually only watched some clips earlier today from him last season, and he was amazing. He was only getting better and better as the season went on, and he was really leading the line from a central position, getting goals, getting assists, linking up well with everyone around him. So yeah, he's a massive loss, and it's going to be interesting to see how Duff actually restructures that front three, whether he goes with whether he kind of goes back to a Sean Boyd target man type. Dean Williams is there now as well, or will he maybe go for like a Matty Smith through the middle, maybe someone more similar to a Jack Moylan to play through the centre, and have a Liam Burton, Will Jarvis playing off and with pacing behind. It's going to be really interesting, but there's plenty of options that Duff has in terms of how he wants to approach the game in the final third next season. Definitely something Shels have increased in terms of the depth of the squad up there. It's always been an issue for them really since they've come up, if a couple of injuries come about, they kind of struggle for options up there, and for goals. But I think the way they've lined up now, I think is really good, and they look really strong. John Martin coming in is a fantastic bit of business. I think Keith Ward will have some big moments this year, maybe off the bench more than likely, but in the dressing room he'll provide great experience. Sean Gannon coming in, that's a fantastic pickup. It was done so early in the window as well, so people may have kind of gone under people's radar, but I think he's the most decorated League of Ireland player in history. They can keep him fit. He's a huge upgrade on, I think, J.R. Wilson from last season. Massive upgrade. So bringing in that experience can be crucial for the league campaign and of course for the European campaign. But yeah, for Shels it feels like a really good place right now. Probably the best goalkeeper in the league as well. So I think Shels are in a really good spot. I think Duff, for my money, is... People might give me a stick. I think he's the best manager in the league as well, most high potential manager. He's still early days in his career, so yeah, it just seems like a fantastic place right now, and I think Shels are going to do big things this season. And the third place finish is another year of progression, so yeah, I think that's where I've put Shels for this season. Now into the top two, and this is where it gets tricky once again. Obviously we have St. Pat's and Shamrock Rovers left, and I'm going back and forth in my head on this one because obviously the President's Cup has happened now, and Shamrock Rovers looked so much better than St. Pat's, and I kind of read into the President's Cup last season and it just turned into nothing. I think was it Derry beat Rovers in it? I think that's what it was, and I read into that a little bit too much. I think I picked Derry to win the league over Rovers because of that, and I read to myself I wouldn't do that again, but I am going to do it again. I'm going to put St. Pat's in second place. Their business has been fantastic. They've really improved the squad in a lot of areas. They've brought in Rory Keating up front. He's obviously was one of the top goal scorers in the league last season for a poor Cork side. He'll get more chances created for him. I flagged in the last video, but there is that St. Pat's striker curse, which I do believe is a real thing. So my outside shout for the season is that Keating doesn't work out or something, but he could well do. He's a quality player, and that's just kind of going off absolutely nothing. But yeah, you look at the talent in the squad. Mulroney is fantastic. I think Mason Melia is going to get more game time this season. He's one of the best young players in the league. He's a really exciting prospect. Obviously, that double pivot in midfield of Forrester and Lennon, you don't get much better than that at this level. They brought in Aaron Bulge there as backup in that area, which is fantastic as well. Connor Keeley, partnering Joe Redmond at the back as well, is a super pickup. He was a fantastic player, as mentioned earlier in the video, one of the best centre backs in the league last season. And they brought in, I think, Luke Turner from Cliftonville. Don't know a whole lot about him, but he's tipped highly rated from playing up north, and I think he cost a substantial transfer fee to come down as well, so he adds added competition at the back. I wonder if Pat's in that with Sam Curtis gone, they haven't really brought in that right back. Will they maybe go for kind of a more aggressive, tall back line and maybe play a centre back at right back to give them that bit more presence? Hard to know just yet. We'll see how that one plays out. But yeah, for me, Pats have done really well in the window. The goalkeeper issue is one as well as a concern, potentially by his President's Cup performance. It is a concerning area because Dean Linus was such a solid figure for them last season in goal. He's never really made any big errors or anything, so that's a kind of a little bit of a question mark around that. But yeah, I think Pats will have a really strong season. No two ways about it. I think they'll build on last year and do well again. I think second place is obviously they obviously want to win the league, but I think the team I'm about to mention are just a little bit stronger than them, to be honest. And finally, as you can probably guess, Shamrock Rovers to win the league again, 5 in a row. It's very boring, but they're just too good. They're too good. They've strengthened again. They never really seem to lose a whole lot. Liam Burt's left on loan, obviously to make space for Johnny Kenny coming in, for Dara Burns to come in, so they'll probably see that as an upgrade. Whether people agree with that or not remains to be seen. Who has a better season? I don't think there's a whole lot between them, but maybe just the system Dara Burns suits more because he's more in that Graham Burke mould. Probably rotate with him. Rory Gaffney still leading the line. He's aging like a fine wine. He's just some player. Jack Byrne barely kicked the ball last season. He needs to come back into the mix. If he can stay fit all season, he'll be a huge asset to them, of course. Bringing in Aaron McInnes back, they're so good. Such a good squad for the League of Ireland, isn't it? Johnny Kenny, I think, is going to kick on again. I think last season we didn't really probably have the season he would have liked himself, but I think he's going to kick on next season and really fire on all cylinders. So yeah, for me, I think it's a no-brainer. I think Shamrock Rovers are going to do 5 in a row. Well guys, there you have it, my league table predictions for the Premier Division in 2024. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? I want to hear what you have to say down there. If you don't mind dropping a like in the video as well, that would be fantastic. It is much appreciated. And please do subscribe if you're new around here. Plenty more League of Ireland content coming. And as I said, we probably will have a fan cams and reaction video post Shamrock Rovers Dundalk on Friday night. So yeah, make sure to stay tuned for all that good stuff. We'll also be doing our League of Ireland fantasy football team. We're going to make a league for that as well, so make sure to stick around. I'll be putting on socials and all that good stuff with links to the league. I'm going to make one, and we are going to set up our team in a video that'll hopefully drop on Thursday night as well. We'll be doing game week predictions on our TikTok and Instagram, so that's where we're not going to be having them on the YouTube channel. There might be YouTube shorts actually, but there won't be YouTube videos, so make sure to follow us on all our socials. They're all in the description. So yeah, plenty of good stuff coming out in the near future, and I'm absolutely buzzing for the LOI to be back in our lives. It's been a long time coming, but we're nearly there. Thank you so much for watching again, guys, and I'll catch you in a little bit.